You stand at the bathroom sink before your coffee has even finished brewing, and you look up without meaning to. The skin beneath your eyes sits heavy, swollen in the way it has been doing for months now. You press it gently with your ring finger, the way you have learned to do, and the indentation lingers just a moment longer than it should. You have been sleeping. You have been drinking your water. You have tried the creams and the cold spoons and the patches from every advertisement that has ever found you. You told yourself it was just getting older, just something to accept. But if you want to understand why those bags keep returning no matter what you put on your face, do not look at the creams in your cabinet and do not look at your sleep schedule. Look instead at a small, hard-working organ sitting just beneath your right rib cage that has been quietly asking for your attention for years. My name is Camilla Hayes, and I am glad you found your way here today. What I am about to share with you may change something you have come to accept as permanent, my friend. The heaviness in the face, the puffiness that has made you step back from photographs and away from mirrors, it does not have to stay. And more than how you look, what is underneath it matters enormously. The same organ that shows up in your face governs your energy, your digestion, your hormones, and the strength of your immune defense every single day. The women who come to understand this in their 60s and 70s keep doing the things that matter most to them. They can get down on the floor with a grandchild who is building something and stay there as long as the child wants. They can stand in their own kitchen on a Sunday morning and feel fully like themselves. Doctors do not bring this up, and there is a practical reason for that. Their appointments are short, their tools are designed around prescriptions. The food that addresses what I am about to describe has no patent behind it and no pharmaceutical company funding research into it. That is why you are finding this here and not somewhere else. My name is Camilla Hayes. For over 35 years, I have worked as a traditional herbalist in the foothills of rural South Carolina, trained in the plant medicine passed down through 4 generations of my family, rooted in the Gullah healing tradition my grandmother carried and her mother before her. I have sat with more than 12,000 women, most of them over 60. And what I offer my clients is not a pill or a procedure. It is knowledge of how this body heals when it is given what it truly needs. My grandmother said something she repeated so often it became the ground beneath all of her teaching. She said the belly is where it begins. Every complaint that walked into her kitchen, the swollen joints, the tired eyes, the skin that spoke of trouble underneath, she started there. She understood that the internal terrain, the bacterial life, and the organ health deep in the body's center radiates outward into every tissue you can see from the outside. What researchers today call the gut-liver axis, the connection between the bacterial community in your intestines and the health of your liver, she called keeping the belly clean. The science has spent decades catching up to what she already knew. My grandmother lived to 89. Her mother lived past 90. The women in our community who ate from the old ways, who kept their bitter herbs, who fermented their vegetables and trusted the kitchen garden over the pharmacy, rarely showed the kind of under-eye heaviness and facial puffiness that walks through my door today. Not at 65, not at 70. The bags under the eyes, the bloated belly, the skin that looks weary before the day has even begun, these were not considered features of growing old in the tradition I come from. They were signals that the liver and the gut needed attention. Researchers working in liver and gut health have spent the last 2 decades arriving at the same understanding the old healers carried. The fermented foods, the bitter herbs, the clean internal environment they protected with such care, these are not supplemental wellness additions. They are the foundation of how the liver stays clear and how inflammation stays quiet. The laboratories have confirmed what the grandmothers already knew. Now, in this video, I am going to show you something that surprises 9 out of 10 women I speak with. They have been addressing the outside of something that has an inside cause. Each piece of what I am sharing today builds on the one before it, and if you skip ahead, you will miss the part that makes the whole thing work. Stay with me through to the end, dear one. Before we go any further, I want to ask you something. Leave a comment below right now and tell me two things. Your age, and how long you have been noticing the heaviness beneath your eyes. Has it been several months, a few years? I read every single comment on this channel, and what you share there shapes exactly what I bring to you next. Your story matters here. Please do not skip past this. In this video, I am going to show you why no amount of sleep and no cream in any store can touch what we are truly dealing with. I am going to show you the hidden signal the gut sends to the liver long before anything appears beneath the eyes. I am going to walk you through three specific forces sitting in most households right now that quietly feed this problem day after day. I am going to show you a fermented food that the oldest living women in Japan have eaten at breakfast for over 1,000 years, and what the researchers following behind them have now confirmed. And then I'm going to give you the master protocol, the specific, layered way to bring this work into your daily life, and the single most important shift a woman over 60 can make for the face she sees in the mirror every morning. One small thing before we begin, my friend. If you are not yet subscribed to this channel, it takes only a moment. I share these teachings for the women who could not find this kind of knowledge in a doctor's office, and each new subscriber helps me reach more of them. If this sounds like something a sister or an oldest friend needs to hear, share it with them today. Now, let us go. The skin beneath your eyes is the thinnest skin on the human body, barely 0.5 millimeter in most places. There is almost no fat layer underneath it and very little muscle to hold it in place. And the blood vessels and lymphatic channels there sit very close to the surface. What that means is that when something is out of balance internally, this is where you tend to see it first. Under eye puffiness that returns morning after morning, that does not respond to cold water or a full night of rest, that grows more pronounced as the months pass, is a signal. The women who come to me carrying every cream and serum available, who have changed their pillows and counted their hours of sleep, and still see the same thing in the mirror each morning, I always ask them the same question. When did you last tend to your liver? The skin beneath your eyes is carrying a message from the body. There is a source beneath the surface, and it deserves your attention. What most of the women I work with have never been told is that the condition behind this persistent puffiness has a specific name and a specific mechanism. It is called hepatic steatosis, what doctors sometimes refer to as non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. In plain language, fat has accumulated inside the liver cells more than the liver can process, and the liver has become inflamed, working against it. Here is how this unfolds at the level of the cell. When your liver is functioning well, it processes the fats and sugars arriving from your food and moves them along to be used as energy or stored properly. When the liver becomes burdened, those fat droplets start accumulating inside the liver cells themselves. The liver swells slightly, it becomes inflamed, and an inflamed liver releases inflammatory messengers called cytokines that travel through the bloodstream to every tissue in the body, including the fragile tissue beneath the eyes. The lymphatic system, which normally drains fluid from that area efficiently, becomes overwhelmed. Fluid backs up. The thinnest skin on your face with nowhere to hide it holds it there. Think of the liver as the filtration plant for a small town. When the plant runs clean, the water flows through clear. When the plant becomes overloaded, things back up. The drainage slows. The low-lying land fills first. The most vulnerable places show the congestion before anywhere else. If you have ever pressed the skin beneath your eye while standing at the bathroom sink in the morning and felt it hold a small indentation just a beat longer than it once did, you have felt exactly this in your body. That delay is the lymphatic drainage telling you it is working harder than it should. The traditional healers in our community observed something the outside world is only now putting words to. As the body moves through its 60s and 70s, the liver's capacity to manage this burden is meaningfully reduced. What a younger liver clears overnight may take considerably longer as the years accumulate. The inflammation lingers. The fluid backs up more persistently. The face in the mirror reflects that delay every morning. My grandmother could look at a woman and know where the trouble was. She said you could see a tired liver from across a room if you knew where to look. She was not guessing. Several things in the modern environment quietly feed this problem. They are not rare conditions. They are happening in most households most days without anyone connecting them to what shows up in the mirror. The first is concentrated fructose, the kind found in sweetened beverages, packaged sauces, flavored yogurts, and the foods that arrive at the grocery store with health labels. Whole fruit carries fructose packaged with fiber and water, and the liver handles it well. Concentrated fructose arrives without that packaging, and in large amounts, it overwhelms the liver's processing capacity. The liver is the only organ in the body that manages significant amounts of fructose. When more arrives than can be used as energy, what is left is converted directly to fat. Over years and decades, that accumulation builds. The second force is the kind of cooking oils that have been in most American kitchens for 50 years without question. When you open a bottle of standard vegetable oil and notice how flat and neutral the smell is, that neutrality is the result of heavy industrial processing, and it carries a persistent load of omega-6 fatty acids the body was never designed to handle in the quantities the modern diet delivers. When the omega-6 load stays high and the omega-3 intake stays low, the body maintains a low-level inflammatory state that becomes the background noise the liver has to work against every day, quietly, for years before the face begins to speak. Now, here is something I want you to understand because it connects everything we have been discussing to something that goes even deeper. The grandmothers in our tradition spoke about the living population inside the belly, the organisms that digest, protect, and regulate. They guarded the conditions for those organisms the way a farmer guards the soil. What the outside world has now begun to document confirms what those grandmothers watched unfold across generations. By the time many women reach their late 60s, the diversity of that bacterial community in the gut has fallen by close to half compared to what it was in younger years. The laboratories are confirming what the old healers watched for a very long time. And the reason this matters for the liver is direct. When the gut bacterial community is depleted, the lining of the intestinal wall becomes vulnerable. Bacterial toxins that should stay contained inside the gut begin crossing that lining and traveling through the portal vein directly to the liver. The liver then has to fight that toxic load on top of everything else. This is why probiotics alone rarely move the needle the way people hope. The bacteria you introduce need prebiotic fiber to survive and establish. And the body needs the postbiotics, the actual healing compounds the bacteria produce as they do their work, to complete the cycle. Think of it this way. Even the most hardworking garden will not produce if the soil itself is depleted. The seed, the soil food, and the harvest all have to work together. One without the other leaves the system incomplete. Dorothy was 68 years old when she first came to see me. She had spent 30 years teaching school in Savannah, Georgia, and she carried herself with the quiet dignity of a woman who had given most of herself to other people. She brought a photograph she had taken the year before, holding it out toward me the moment she sat down. "Camilla," she said quietly, "this is not my face anymore." The bags beneath her eyes had become so pronounced her own children were asking if she was unwell. What had been overlooked was not her sleep schedule and not her skin. Her diet looked clean by every common measure, but she had been cooking with vegetable oil her entire adult life and drinking a lightly sweetened tea every single afternoon that she had never considered a problem. Within 14 weeks of changing those two things and tending to her gut terrain, the puffiness beneath her eyes had reduced by more than half. She called me to say she had gone to her granddaughter's spring program and let someone take her picture. "Camilla," she told me, "I forgot what it felt like to want to show up. I want to pause here because the question that comes to me most often from this community is this. Camilla, what do I take to support my gut while I am doing all of this work? I want to share something with you. What I have landed on is called BoochBod. It is a kombucha gummy berry bliss flavor, and it covers all three layers at once." prebiotic fiber to feed the beneficial bacteria, a clinically studied probiotic strain called lactospore, and postbiotics LM1004 to provide the postbiotics the body needs to complete the healing process. It also carries dandelion root and slippery elm, both of which have been in my grandmother's healing tradition for generations, used to support the liver and the gut terrain from the inside. It is a gummy, not a pill, which many of my clients appreciate deeply. Over 30,000 people are already using it. The link is in the description below whenever you are ready. Please speak to your doctor before starting any supplement, particularly if you are already managing other health conditions. Now we arrive at the piece I have been building toward, dear heart. The food that addresses the source of what we have been discussing. The food that has been eaten by the grandmothers of the Ibaraki and Miyagi regions of Japan at breakfast for over 1,000 years. It is called natto. Natto is fermented soybeans. That may sound plain until you understand what this particular fermentation produces and what the researchers who have followed these communities have now confirmed. The fermentation of soybeans creates an enzyme called nattokinase that supports circulation and helps the body clear the kind of fibrin buildup that contributes to sluggish lymphatic drainage. The lymphatic channels that remove fluid from the tissue beneath the eyes function better when circulation is moving the way it should. Nattokinase is found in very few foods. Natto is its primary source. Natto also carries vitamin K2 in its MK7 form, which works directly with the liver's fat processing functions. Think of the liver's enzyme system as the maintenance crew inside the filtration plant. They need specific tools to do their work. Vitamin K2 MK7 is one of those tools, and it is almost entirely absent from the modern Western kitchen. The fermentation process produces Bacillus subtilis, a hardy probiotic strain that survives the digestive environment well and establishes itself in the gut where restoration needs to happen. For an older digestive system that has already lost much of its bacterial diversity, this matters considerably. And the isoflavones present in fermented soy act as gentle inflammation modulators, not a cure, not a treatment, but a steady daily influence on the inflammatory cycle that has been feeding the puffiness beneath the eyes over time. The women of these Japanese communities have not been waiting for researchers to tell them what natto does. They have been eating it at breakfast with their rice and their miso for longer than any study could measure. The researchers who have followed them into the modern era confirm what those mornings have always carried. The tradition was the proof. The laboratories arrived later. One word of care before we go to the protocol. Nattokinase is a natural compound that affects the way blood flows through the body. If you are taking any blood thinning medication, please speak with your doctor before adding natto to your regular routine. Here is the practical protocol. Find natto at an Asian grocery store in the refrigerated or frozen section. It comes in small styrofoam containers. The smell is strong and earthy. The texture is sticky and pulls into long white strings when you stir it. That stickiness is how you know the nattokinase is alive and active. Stir it vigorously before you eat it, because vigorous stirring is part of how the traditional preparation activates the enzyme. Add a small amount of mustard or a few drops of soy sauce if you need help with the flavor in the beginning. Begin with one container, roughly 45 grams, 3 to 4 mornings each week. Pair each morning's natto with a half cup of warm dandelion root tea, brewed from dried root rather than the leaf. The root supports bile flow, which helps the liver move processed fats through the system. Drink it warm while your rice is still steaming. This small morning ritual, the fermented food and the bitter root together, is something I have watched change the faces of the women I serve in ways no cream has ever managed. Give this 6 to 8 weeks of steady practice before you assess the results. The face does not change in a weekend. The liver works slowly and honestly, and so does the healing. Gloria was 74 years old when she came to see me. She was a retired seamstress from Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and she had the quick, careful hands of a woman who had spent her life doing precise and beautiful work. She came not because of a health crisis, but because she had started avoiding mirrors. The bags beneath her eyes had become so pronounced that her youngest daughter had asked more than once if she was sleeping enough. What had been overlooked was simple. Her diet was genuinely clean in nearly every respect except two. She had been cooking with vegetable oil for 40 years and could not imagine it otherwise, and she had eaten almost no fermented foods in her life. Three changes. She removed the seed oils and replaced them with quality olive oil and small amounts of butter. She brought in natto 4 mornings a week with warm dandelion root tea, and she tended her gut terrain as we discussed. At week 10, the improvement was measurable. The under eye heaviness had reduced by roughly 60%. She told me, Camilla, my youngest said I looked like myself again. That was the morning I knew she was well on her way. After 35 years of watching what actually moves people toward lasting change and what quietly fails by week 3, here are a few things I do not hear anyone else saying. Number 1, consistency outperforms intensity every single time. 2 small servings of natto, 4 mornings a week for 12 weeks, does more lasting work than a heroic effort for 7 days followed by stopping. The liver responds to regularity. Think of this work as a morning practice, the way tending a garden asks something small of you each day and rewards you over the full season. Number 2, time your natto in the morning. The liver does its deepest restoration work in the overnight hours, and having the natto kinase and the vitamin K2 circulating in the body through the waking hours supports that natural process rather than competing with it. Number 3, if you cannot find natto near you, traditionally fermented miso made from whole soybeans and stored unpasteurized in the refrigerator carries similar isoflavones and live cultures. Stir 1 teaspoon into warm broth or water that is hot but not boiling. Boiling destroys the living cultures. Do not use the instant miso packets in foil envelopes. The bacteria are gone by the time they reach you. 3 mistakes I see repeatedly. Mistake 1, expecting the face to change in the first week. Women try natto for 5 or 6 days, see nothing different in the mirror, and stop. The liver built up what it is carrying over many years. 6 to 8 weeks of consistent practice is the minimum before you have real information. Keep a short note somewhere. The changes will be subtle first and then visible. Mistake 2, buying the wrong fermented soy. Many products in health food stores labeled as probiotic or soy-based have been heat-treated during production. The nattokinase is destroyed. The live cultures are gone. Look for raw, traditionally fermented natto kept refrigerated or frozen at an Asian grocery store. The strong smell and the long, sticky strings when you stir it are how you know it is still alive. Mistake 3, adding natto while the old habits remain in place. If concentrated fructose and industrial seed oils are still arriving at the liver every day, the protocol addresses what you are adding but cannot counteract what you are not yet removing. Both halves are needed for the work to complete. My friend, what I want you to carry from today is something simpler than a protocol. You are protecting the life you are still living, the ability to get down on a hardwood floor on a quiet morning and read aloud to a small child who is leaning into your side, the ability to sit across a table from someone who matters to you and feel fully present in your own face, not wanting to turn away. These are the things worth doing this for. It is never too late. I have watched women in their 70s and 80s make these changes and see their faces shift within weeks. The liver is a regenerating organ. It is designed to recover when given the right conditions. You are not too old for this work. You are exactly the right age for it. You are the one who decides what goes into this body. That power has always been yours. Let me pull this together for you now. Part 1. The bags beneath your eyes are a signal from the inside. The thinnest skin on your face reveals what the liver is carrying. No cream can address a drainage problem from the outside in. Part 2. The hidden cause is hepatic steatosis, fat accumulation inside the liver that triggers inflammation and overwhelms the lymphatic drainage beneath the eyes. Part 3. The forces feeding this problem include concentrated fructose in processed and sweetened foods, industrial seed oils that sustain chronic low-level inflammation, and a depleted gut bacterial community that allows toxins to travel directly to the liver through the portal vein. Part 4. The recovery protocol centers on natto eaten 3 to 4 mornings each week, paired with warm dandelion root tea with industrial seed oils removed from the kitchen and the gut terrain tended as we discussed. If what I shared today helped you, I want to ask for one thing. Hit subscribe so you do not miss what is coming next. And if you have a sister, an old friend, someone who has been carrying this question without knowing where to bring it, share this video with them today. Leave a comment right now and tell me which part of today's teaching surprised you most, or which step you are starting with first. I read every single comment on this channel, and what you share there shapes what I bring you next. The BoochBod link from earlier in this video is in the description below whenever you are ready, dear heart. No pressure and no rush. I am Camilla Hayes, and I will see you in the next one.